This is Robert Bach, the Socorro genealogist. I just wanted to do a really quick video here. The other day I went over my DNA results and I just wanted to show you where I found this information. So if you go to Ancestry and you go down to the bottom here, you'll see ethnicity estimates. Click on View Full Results. And when you click that on, you'll get this map. Now, notice here it says your DNA looks most like DNA from these 3 world regions. And you've got a breakdown here of Spain, Indigenous Americas, Mexico, or I have this. You may not have this specific breakdown. England, Northwestern Europe, Basque, Indigenous Americas, North, European Jewish, Sweden and Denmark, Norway, Eastern Europe and Russia, Sardinia, Germanic Europe, Cameroon, Congo, and Western Bantu peoples, and Indigenous Americas, Yucatan Peninsula, with those just being trace amounts, those latter ones. So let me click on Spain, and it'll show you Spain here, including a few islands off of Spain. It says your ethnicity estimate is 52%, but it can range from 48 to 59%. So let me read this little paragraph here because it actually tells you a lot about what we're looking at. The heart of our Spain region lies in the Iberian Peninsula, framed by the granite peaks and plunging falls of the Pyrenees and the French border in the north and the sunny Mediterranean beaches in the south. This region has seen a long parade of invaders, including Celts, Romans, and German Visigoths. Under Muslim rule, it was home to some of the most advanced societies in Europe. Then, during the Age of Discovery, Spaniards founded a world empire that established Spanish as the second most spoken native language to this day. So this is what I like to look at as part of my Mexican American Hispanic ancestry. It's definitely my Spanish ancestry, the Spaniard in me, right? About half of what my DNA is showing. Another important part, of course, is Indigenous Americans. This is what makes me Mexican America. And it says you're 19%. Your ethnicity estimate is 19%, but can range from 11 to 23%. And then it breaks it down by New Mexico and Southern Colorado. And you'll see here, it says there's 197,042 ancestry DNA members. That doesn't mean that they're all related to me, but it is a definite breakdown as far as who I'm related to. So let's go back to this. You and all the members of your community are linked through a shared ancestors. You probably have family who lived in this area for years and maybe still do. The more specific places within this region where your family was likely from. And let's read this here. Community history. Since the 1700s, New Mexico and Southern Colorado have been shaped by the clash and commingling of people and cultures. Native peoples and Spanish settlers shared similar farming techniques and joined in defense against raiding Apache and Comanche bands, with whom they also traded. War, railroads, and homesteading brought Anglo settlers who sometimes married into Hispanic families and sometimes encroached on the traditional lands. Together, they faced the changes of drought, boom and bust, and war to a harsh and beautiful land. Now, my ancestry, of course, in this area goes all the way back to 1598, and actually before that with the native peoples. You'll see that New Mexico is an important part of this, but you also have Mexico, which of course New Mexico was part of. And again, indigenous peoples, those are the people that were originally here. And let's look at this entire region. About this region, our Indigenous Americas, Mexico, region extends from the southwestern United States down to the border of Guatemala. Known for their large ceremonial centers, mathematical expertise, and intricate calendars, the fierce warrior culture of the Aztecs called this area home and built their capital where the Mexico City now stands. In the northern part of the region, sedentary tribes such as the Hopi became expert farmers and grew squash, corn, and beans in their desert environment. Despite their harsh surroundings, the indigenous peoples of this region created a rich legacy of art, science, and survival. So again, a lot of indigenous blood in my ancestry. So let's go back down here. Again, we had the breakdown. Now we have this here. And I love this little thing here. This little feature that splits your parental DNA. And I showed how I believe that parent one is actually my mother, based on, well, this right here, England and Northwestern Europe, which would be the Germanic part of my ancestry. That would, or the Swiss, most likely. It could also be my Germanic, the Bourguignon. But I wanted to show you once again, what I consider my Mexican American portion of my ancestry. And that, of course, starts with Spain, with Indigenous Americas, Mexico. Basque are the people of northern Spain, southern France. Indigenous Americas North. Indigenous Americas, Yucatan Peninsula. There are a lot of Africans that were in Spain at one point. So Cameroon, Congo, and Western Bantu peoples might be part of that, and possibly European Jewish. Again, I mentioned I wish they would have shown Sephardic and broken this down by either Ashkenazi or Sephardic Jewish. So Sephardic would have been Spain, Ashkenazi would have been German, and I have both. I have both types of ancestry. So this could possibly be what my Mexican American ancestry is. Again, the indigenous people are only going to be on this, because according to at least the research I've done, my two non-Hispanic ancestors, Zimmerli from Switzerland, Bourguignon from Germany, had no connection to native peoples until they married into the Hispanic families who were already part native. So they would not show up as having any indigenous ancestry. So all that indigenous ancestry are all my deep Mexican American Spanish roots going back 1600s, 1500s, and prior to that with the indigenous peoples that were here. That would include Aztecs and the various peoples of Mexico. That would include the Pueblos, and that might even include certain other indigenous peoples like Apache, Navajo, or whatever. I know I have at least one ancestor who is considered to be Genízaro, which is a term used only in New Mexico, which means a Native American who was captured, usually by another tribe, sold to the Spanish, raised in the Spanish household, and then given his or her freedom. And often these people, and in my case this is definitely true, married into the Hispanic families around the area. You'll see this a lot in New Mexican Hispanics going back to the 1700s, 1600s even, and such. So I may have, there was a story that my great-grandmother said she was Apache. Well, she definitely wasn't Apache, but she did have a great grandfather who was one of these Geniceros. So it's possible that she was referring to that. Anyhow, so this is my what I consider my Mexican American, with a possibility of these two groups not being part of it, or smaller portions of this being part of it and others being with my other ancestors. I'm thinking most likely this African is my Spanish heritage. European Jewish may or may not be. There are definitely a lot of Jews in Spain, very important ancestry. So it's very possible that these people, these ancestors came in with that. So here we go. That is my Mexican American ancestry, with a possibility of some of these others being mixed in there too, maybe even Sardinia. All right. Well, that is a quick look at my ancestry and how you can access this. Again, you'll have different results than me, even if you are Mexican American. And I appreciate you watching this video. I am Robert Baca, and I am the Socorro genealogist.